Hi, you're looking in on a foreigner living in the Philippines. Today we're going to look at the kind of things that you can make with metal stud. Metal stud usually is what you see in office blocks where they've made the complete clear floor, and then all of the offices are separated by metal stud. That's the normal conventional way of using it. Now I'm going to show you some other ways that I've used it and hope that it inspires some change on that. And I'll show you some of the little tricks that I've learned along the way. But right now, if you look up, I made this house out of metal stud. Obviously it has wood in there, the furnishings, plywood. I've used all kinds of other materials, but the basic thing is made out of metal stud, even some of the furniture. So I'm going to show you now what I've done. You can follow me in. Now I'm hoping that the light will be enough in here to be able to show you some of the things, but one of the major obstacles that I found was that there didn't seem to be any brackets for holding things together, and that was where a lot of the design work that I did went in. So if we look here, we're looking down now, and we're going to come in and do a close-up. So if you look at some of these things that I've made here, this is how I put the metal stud together. This is two lots of stud and 2 lots of channel, or track as they call it here. And then this is what it looks like when it's all put together. This is what I call a boot, which if you're going to have a beam, one of these standing straight on the ground, it's nice to have this, a boot. And this is how it would be made up. But I'm going to show you how that can be done later. Here's some of the other little brackets that I ended up making just by bending track. And in this case, bending one side and then hammering this side out. Right, so let's look at some of the places where the metal stud is still exposed. Here's one place. We're in the process of putting the house together, but this is one of the places where I made furniture out of metal stud. So this here is track, and it's just hammered out straight, forms a big plate. Track I found, or channel, I found was the most versatile part of metal stud. It needs the least hammering out, and then you can make all your brackets from that. But you can see here how all of this goes together. There's a place where a bracket holds this part into this part. This is track, sorry, this is channel stud, and this is the track. And that forms, as you can look down here, that forms the seat. It also forms a support. This is what I call a beam. This is 2 pieces of stud, back to back, riveted together, and then the track is placed on the outside, and that's riveted as well. That forms a beam. That's a support beam. At the top, as I said, I've got a boot. At the bottom, you can see here, come and focus in. I'll show you how to make these, but this is a boot, and it's just track, and it's bent, and it forms a thing, gives a nice footing for the beam to sit on. Those sharp edges are not pressing in. That's one thing there. All of the backing, as you can see here, is made in metal stud, as is this part, which is a mirror image of the one that you've just seen. So that's there. That's not quite so obvious. I actually made this in metal stud. All of this is made in metal stud. All the base work is done in metal stud. Now, there's a very good reason. Let's go out here where the light is better. So there's a very good reason why I chose metal stud. Not because I'm in love with metal stud, but we live high in the hills of Bohol, in the mountains. And to get materials to us at the time that I started building the house, which is over 2 years ago, getting materials was very, very difficult. In fact, you probably laugh at this, but a tricycle brought the materials to the bottom of the road. And then from there, my brother-in-law would take his carabao and a bamboo sled, and he would drag the materials for the rest of the way. So, metal stud is very light. It can be lifted quite easily by me. And I built the house alone. Single-handed, I built the house. And I built it with these very basic tools. If we look now, to do metal stud work, you need an electric drill and a drill bit. You need a riveter, a pot riveter. And let me see if I can get my hands in here, which is not proving easy. You need rivets. And those rivets go in the gun, or riveter. They go in. And that's what holds it together. You need a pair of tin snips. These are all very cheap, apart from the drill. These are all very cheap materials, tools. This I pay, this is a $5 tool. $5 tool. They don't last long, so you need to be buying quite a few. I think I've gone through maybe 10 riveters since I've been building the house. And you need a hammer, of course. Right, so that's what you need there. Now, some of the places where I've used metal stud that it's not normally used. If you look up now, I think I'm going to take the camera. You can see there where I've used metal for making up these beams. The beams that I described, there they are. That's a boot on the end, and all of these are very strong. They can be doubled up, and then they can actually be plated together, which I think you can see probably about there. Let me see, yes, there's a plate. There's a plate holding it together. There's another here. You can see another support plate. It's bent out. It can be doubled up. It can be tripled up as many times as you want. Here you can see I've used track to join two beams as they cross, and the same over there. Same over here. So once you actually get the hang of making those brackets, all of this can go together like Lego. This is actually our porch, and it's all made in metal stud. But inside the house is also metal stud. All the walls are metal stud, but inside the house itself is another video. What I really want to do is actually show you how the little things go together and how to put these beams together and use the brackets and make the brackets. So we're actually going to go out now. and Beth's going to take over the camera. You're going to follow me out to the workshop. So this is what you've seen. This is what you've seen me call a beam. You take the metal stud. This is stud. The metal stud is the one that's curled over on the edges. The track is the one that's made for this to go into. Now there are many videos on YouTube showing how to do conventional stud work, so there's no need for me to do that, right? So good. So you need to know the basics, obviously, and you can easily learn those. But this is the basic. This is stud, this is track or channel. Now, when you take two of these and put them back to back and rivet them in here like this, you rivet them together. Now, if you need a beam that is longer than the normal 10-foot length of stud, what you do is you stagger two pieces. And then when the other piece comes in, it will be like that. And then you put one of the brackets that I'll show you how to make. So, we've got the beam started. Here's the two metal stud together. After you've got two metal stud together, you take track. These are just little scraps that I've still got there. So, all of those are riveted together. And once all of the rivets go in and they're attached in, it's very, very strong. But it's still relatively light. I lifted all of the main roof beams up into the top of that house myself. No help on that. Okay, so that's how you would make a beam. Once you've made a beam, what we were looking at was a boot, and the boot goes on the bottom. Well, the boot is nothing more than a piece of track or channel. I like to take off these sharp edges once you've cut those and make them like that. It looks a little bit nicer, a bit fancier, in case it's actually showing, and it takes a sharp edge. That's a pretty sharp edge there, like this is. So once you've cut those in, you bend it, and that goes onto the beam, into there, and then that's riveted to the beam itself. So that's the most. This is the most difficult one of the brackets that I make, but it's actually not very hard to do. You see lots of other pieces. Some of the stud even you don't need to have a bracket. If it's going down onto something like this, you can just cut it like this. Take the edges off, as I've said, open it up, and then this can be riveted down. So that's a piece of stud there. There's a lot of other things that you can use. This would be a bracket if you needed another bracket, a different kind. You've seen most of the drawings of the brackets that I use. That's mostly what I use. There's other pieces here. See there, I would use that as its own bracket, riveted into here, and that can be up, or it can be used down. So all of those are really easy. Now I hope that that's helped a little. You can use metal stud for a lot more things than you think. Let's just walk around the house before we finish off. Now all of this wall, the walls were all made of metal stud. You can see the beams up there, you can see the boots on the end. If you look, if you focus on the beams there. You come here, you can see here how the beams, what a waste, there's a rivet. So this is actually going to be blocked off. I had intended to put a window in here, but when I started to work on the kitchen, I realized that we wouldn't have any wall space if I kept the windows there. So as much as I would have liked to have had the extra light, I didn't do that. And I put in a plastic roof panel, which has given us all the light that we need. So this will all be put in. As you can see here, this is actually going to be an overhang coming out quite a long way out to probably here, to shield that door. The rain, most of the rain that we get, and we get very, very heavy torrential rain out here in the Philippines, it seems to come in from this direction, which I think is south. And it seems to come in from over there. You can even see that if any of the clouds, if there's anything dark, it's over there on the horizon. So if we're going to get any rain, it will be from over there. So it was important that this should have a fairly sheltered cover, like a kind of a mini porch. All of this here, as you can see, all of that is metal stud, and at the support places there are beams, and up on the top there are boots. So I practice what I preach. Just one last look. I believe in using the materials that I can get easily. These, none of it is probably beautiful compared to Western houses, but when you look at the view that we had, then we can be forgiven on those. These are all waiting to have the window frames done. This actually was roofing material. That's what I say about using materials that you can get easily without hassling about, well, it's not supposed to be used for that. Now for this, it was already painted and in colours we could live with. These were the colours that were available, these were the ones that we used. And what we did was, normally, as I say, this would be a roofing like a tile. So we turned the roofing vertical up to 4 feet. We took that up to 4 feet. And then we changed it from vertical into horizontal. So that's when it became horizontal. And it's all riveted into, and will later have a heavier bolt which they use here for going into roofing, to hold the roofing on. So, jalousie windows. One of the difficulties, and one of the main, a very, very compelling reason for why I chose stud, and that is that when you order wood here, what they do is they come and you point them to a tree that you're willing to sacrifice on the property, and they cut down the tree with chainsaws. And the chainsaws, this was cut all by chainsaw, and it's nearly right. The measurements that you give them when you get the wood will almost be right, and that's the key. They'll almost be right. And to build a house, I wanted it a little bit more than almost right. So that's why we used that. But these frames here are almost right. but they've taken the jalousie windows. Once again, we chose those windows because I could put them on the back of my motorcycle and bring them up here. So that's why we chose them. I would love to have had big panes of glass. It wasn't really that doable. So take a last look at the house there. Still got some paneling up there to go up, and that will be when I can get the bamboo ladder that I have extended. So that's all from me. I'm a foreigner living in the Philippines, and I hope that you look at my other videos. We have other videos that my wife and I have made all about life in the Philippines. We don't live on a beach, we live in the mountains. We love it here. It's a wonderful life, wonderful view every day to uplift the spirit. We're very happy. Other people choose to live on the beach, white beaches to walk on every day. Well, I would love that too, but we're not that far from the beach, so we can live with that. So thanks a lot for looking in. You can find me on Facebook, terence.flannery@gmail.com. You can email me, you can comment. I would love to hear your comments, anything that you want to know. I'll be doing videos very soon about some of the furniture that I've made in the house using wood. We use mainly plywood, which we can get in nice straight pieces. So, as I say, look in on us, comment, anything that you want to know, you can know. And bye for now.